And that's where we are. We're off the bottom. I would say we are. So what excuse do you have except for chasing that dollar? That's nothing but paper. Food is the next gold. Heirloom seeds. We want to get seeds from the gardens that generations over there in Africa. We want their seeds. We want the soil. We want the salt. We want the minerals. We want anything that they could bless and send to us. And we'll try to market it, vice versa, and move on back to Africa that way. We have to create an economy of our own. We spend, I forgot how many, $8 billion or something like that in the black community. On what? Our time. I ain't got time, I ain't got time. Do you have a video player? Do you have a PlayStation? Do you have a PC? Do you have these mahad? Well, that takes time. If you're concerned about your future and your children's future, you're going to the wrong university. The universe is free. And the knowledge and wisdom that's been from, like I said, there's no record of beginning and there's no record of end. That's there for your access. But you got to understand DNA. You have to understand energy. And the best way is to study biogeometry. That's the buzzword, because that's going to eliminate the monopoly of power. Everybody has this. We're walking around generators of this energy. And the more we understand our DNA, the more we can put out. We can change the world that way. I would have never survived. My children would have never made it, because I never got jobs from these people. But I've opened up mills and created jobs all my life. So call me. That's what I do. Call me. Get in touch with me. My email, Google me. You just have to put my name in a search engine. Any search engine. Contact. If you can't do it, then you are a targeted individual. If you do not have the guts to call another person just because he's a stranger, or because you think he's something you imagined and you don't know until you communicate with him, then you're one of them. You're not one of us. One of us, we can communicate. We can have a dialogue. We're not part of this system. Okay, so I want to close because I know I got a schedule to keep, and I know I've taken all this conversation all. I'm sorry about that. And we have to own it. We have to own the copyright. Hollywood has been pimping our history and our culture for eons. It's time to take over. And I'm warning Hollywood and all these actors guild. You touch any of this history, we'll be in court.
Hi, this is Mike Adams, the health ranger at Sand Creek Farm in Cameron, Texas. And we're checking out their aquaponics system. They're growing an amazing variety of foods and herbs and vegetables here, all using aquaponics. Yeah, fish and plants together in a closed-loop system, and they built it all themselves. Look at this hoop house with a shade cloth, and this is Durascrim material over blocks, just standard concrete blocks like you can buy at Lowe's or Home Depot. They built this themselves. It's beautiful. It's hugely productive, and they're making a living by producing this food using aquaponics. Let's take a look. Look at this amazing chard. Look how healthy these leaves are. They're just amazing. Now this is in a rack system. It's actually a floating rack here. You see the foam? And this water is highly oxygenated, and the roots hang down in the water. Check this out. See? Whoa! That's the root system for this plant. Super healthy, getting access to all the nutrients. See if we can get it back in there. That's how these grow in these rafts. This is aquaponics. And this water is fed by the fish. It's the nutrients from the fish that the bacteria turn into the food for the plants. And you see the bubbles down there? That's the oxygenation in there. Here at Sand Creek Farm, they use blowers to push oxygen into the water everywhere to raise what's called DO level, dissolved oxygen. Both the plants and the fish need high levels of oxygen to thrive. Now there's even more to this story underneath these floating rafts. We probably won't even be able to see them yet, but there's thousands of freshwater shrimp. Yeah, they're going to grow to the size of large lobsters, bigger than my hand. At the same time that these plants are being grown, they're producing shrimp as a source of food. Plus, they've got fish in the water tanks. This is a food production mecca right here in the middle of central Texas. See? Look at the field out there. This is Texas. Check it out. And this is a bed of young onions, and everything grows faster in an aquaponic system. And as these onions mature, they will, of course, grow larger and become like this. Better than organic, super healthy onion greens. Amazing. Ooh, cilantro. I want to make some guacamole. Check out this hoop house growing a lot of lettuce. Now that sound you hear in the background is just some of the air that's being used to oxygenate these beds. Look how beautiful this lettuce is. How would you like to have that in your own backyard? You can with aquaponics. We've also got many, many heads of red lettuce here. Check it out. We just have a weave cloth. Looks like it's polypropylene woven cloth on the ground, stapled to the ground. And we have some young red lettuce here. It's going to grow and do really well here. This is the system. Let's go take a look at the fish tank. This is the guardian of the entire system right here. She's guarding all the aquaponics. Actually, she's waiting for fish to jump out of the fish tank, which is right here. Check it out. There's probably about 300 pounds of fish growing in this tank and feeding the gardens. The water from the raft beds is recirculated back into here. It's all oxygenated here with the blower that we saw earlier, and then the spillover water comes out of the tank and goes into its filtration system before finally ending up in the raft tanks, which are right here. This is what we've seen earlier. Rows and rows of beautiful lettuce and other plants just enjoying the sunlight and all the nutrients that are provided by the fish. Now remember, the key is to push a lot of oxygen into this water. The roots of these plants love oxygen just as the fish do. And it's almost the more oxygen you can put into the system, the healthier everything is going to be. All right, this is the structure, the hoop house that they're using to grow food. And here's what's interesting about it. You see these joints right here? You notice that these pipes are bent. And that's how you make a hoop house, is you bend the pipes. And then these large hoops are bent all the way across the top. They connect in the middle, and they finish down on the other side. You drill holes in the ground, usually with an auger on a tractor, and you put in concrete in those holes, and then you can build yourself a hoop house. And the brackets look like this. It just keeps the whole structure together. Now, in the summer here in Texas, you're going to use a shade cloth over it, and it's just one piece of cloth that covers the entire house, about 30 feet wide and about 100 feet long. You use lumberyard lumber to build the end, and you put plastic on the end, and that's permanent. Well, you change it whenever you need to, but you don't have to change it very often. And check out what they're doing over here. They are growing in the ground, but using fish water. So the fish nutrients are piped through these irrigation lines in order to feed the plants on the ground. And these right here are a little bit dry, but look how healthy these vines are. Wonderful cucumbers. You see the baby cucumbers starting to form? Very healthy cucumbers. The trellising is just a simple plastic wire, and they use T-posts as the support. The weeds are completely blocked by using this polypropylene woven cloth all along the floor. Well, almost completely blocked. There's a weed. There we go. That's my contribution to the farm. But as you can see, this hoop house can grow a whole lot of food almost year-round.
Hi, it's Marcus Heltman sitting here with Mr. Wayne Barboza, Vice President of Parting Ways. Just want to dip right into it and just ask you, in your own words, what is the Parting Ways Project?
Well, the Parting Ways Project is actually a recovery of the history that was lost for several hundred years. We're talking about the Revolutionary War and the founding of the country back in the days of the Pilgrims and the days of George Washington. It seems that over the years we have lost the history of 10% of the soldiers that actually fought in the war, and they were Africans. And I believe that deliberate indifference was because they were black. So what Parting Ways is to step away from what was a myth and to cover what was a fact. And the facts are coming out that we played a major role in the founding of this country. Also, it ties into the African slave trade and the immigration of other Africans as freemen too as well. So what Parting Ways has done over 30 some odd years that it started is really take another look at African American history and the founding of this country.
That sounds good. So let's clarify a few things, because for those who don't know, what we are talking about is the Revolutionary War, not the Civil War. And the Parting Ways Project was located on the line of Kingston and Plymouth, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Can you go into a little bit of depth as far as specifically who and what are the people that are represented there?
Okay, we'll go to the history as far as I got into it about 13 years ago. But my friend Eddie Johnson, he was involved in the initial recovery. That was back in the 70s. A lot of people were involved. Dick Gregory, the leadership. There was a family out there, the Andres, and they were immigrants, one of the oldest families out there. And what the problem was, after they discovered that there was actually an African settlement there, and way back, during the times of the Pilgrims, quite frankly, it was a Pilgrim township. All that was founded by the forefathers. There is a big difference between forefathers who landed here and the founding fathers who fought for the land. All right, those who fought for the land, they fought with George Washington. This is 1700s. But the history goes deeper than that. It goes back to the original landing and settling here. Because when they arrived here, the only people that were here were the originals. The Aborigines, natives, Wapanans, Arawaks, Pequots, and everything. These were the Indians that were here. But history neglects to tell you that they were black. Right? And they neglect to tell you that there were no laws of ownership of land and all that there. So to go into that phase of the history contradicts and flies in the face of what we're taught in school. So Parting Ways is to recover and re-educate our people, because we have a history that needs to be revisited for more than just historical reasons. But for cultural and heritage reasons, because the heritage indicates that we own a lot of land. And we were given a lot of land, we settled a lot of land. The town just turned back into the woods, and they try to keep it quiet until Eddie and his family come along, and they kept spreading the story. And there was quite a few people back in the 70s that tried to, but they were leaders that didn't, they weren't big leaders yet. Right. They weren't known internationally or nationally. And it was easy for a more powerful group to come along and pull them away from the mission of bringing this history to the classroom. So when I came along in 2000, I never heard of anything such as 5%, 10% of the soldiers being black. I thought there was like 2 or 3.
Right. You started to find out they're a major part of the war.
And if you go look into the history books, there were none.